Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're going deep, really deep, into a pretty dark world. We're talking organized crime, forced alliances, serious personal trauma.
Yeah, it's heavy stuff. We're unpacking the arranged marriage between the Italian Camorra and the Irish Mafia, specifically focusing on Lila Ferrante and Tiernan Callaghan.
The source material for this is drawn from L.J. Shen's novel, Bad Bishop. And if you know Shen's work, you know it pulls absolutely no punches, morally gray, doesn't even begin to cover it.
Exactly. These characters operate in darkness. It's about violence, power, survival, possession, and maybe, just maybe, a really unconventional, twisted kind of love story emerging from all that wreckage.
Okay, so before we dive into the specifics of Lila and Tiernan, let's just quickly sketch out the world they live in. It's dominated by three major players, right?
That's the setup. You've got the Ferrantes, they run the Camorra, the Italian faction. Then there are the Callaghans, Tiernan's family, heading the Irish Mafia.
Then the third piece.
The Russians, the Bratva, represented here by the Rasputins. They're the looming external threat, always pushing, always dangerous. It's mentioned alongside other related works, too, like Sinners of All Saints, that whole interconnected universe.
A tangled web. And central to this is Tiernan Callaghan, who gives the book its title, The Bad Bishop.
Hmm. And that title isn't just, a cool nickname. It's a core metaphor. It comes from chess.
Right. I looked this up. A bad bishop is one that's blocked by its own pawns.
Exactly. It has limited movement, limited scope, kind of boxed in by its own side. The source material even calls the piece irredeemable. It perfectly captures Tiernan. He's incredibly powerful, commands huge territory.
He owns the Bronx, basically.
Yeah, but he's trapped.
Yeah.
Trapped by his past, his family obligations, his own destructive nature. He's immensely capable, but fundamentally restricted.
And his reputation precedes him. The Russians call him deathless. He seems almost pathologically driven.
He is. He avoids typical vices like drinking or smoking. He says he's already too invested in, quote, violence and greed. Everything is about utility, about power. No room for pleasure.
Okay, so that's Tiernan, the irredeemable, deathless, bad bishop, who's Lila Ferrante, the woman thrown into his path.
Lila is, well, she's introduced almost as his opposite. The youngest daughter of Vello Ferrante, the dying Don. She's presented as this pretty little burden.
A burden? Why?
Her whole upbringing was engineered to make her seem intellectually disabled, simple, kept totally isolated.
Why would they do that? To protect her?
Kind of. It was a defense mechanism, mainly driven by her mother, Chiara. The idea was, if she seemed unable to be married, unfit for the usual mafia political transactions, maybe she could avoid being sold off to some monster.
So isolation is a shield.
But as we'll see, that very isolation forged something else entirely inside her. It forced her to build her own world, her own secrets.
The violent kingpin and the hidden pawn. Okay, let's get into section 1. The event that forces these two worlds together. The inciting incident.
It all starts with blood. Tiernan killed a Ferrante soldier, a guy named Filippo, about 10 months prior.
Just like that, what was the reason?
Tiernan just dismissed him as cannon fodder. Insignificant. Standard operating procedure for Tiernan, maybe, but a huge insult to the Ferrantes. It demands a response.
So the Ferrantes call him in, sort of like being called to the principal's office, but with much higher stakes.
Exactly. He's summoned for a lecture by the Ferrante brothers, Achilles, Enzo, and Luca. These are heavy hitters.
And Tiernan, being Tiernan, how does he react to being dressed down?
With complete and utter boredom, contempt even. The source describes him as impatient, annoyed they're wasting his time. He doesn't see Filippo as anything worth discussing. He's apparently thinking he'd rather just slit his own throat than listen to them.
Wow. Zero remorse.
Zero. And that blatant disrespect, that refusal to play by their rules, it pushes Achilles, the calculating one, to act.
This is where it gets really brutal, isn't it?
It's horrifying. Achilles frames it as a favor. Tiernan shot Filippo's eye out, so Achilles demands an eye for an eye. Literally.
Wait, he doesn't just, punch him or something?
No, it's cold, almost surgical. Achilles cuts out Tiernan's eyeball, severs the optic nerve of the muscles. A deliberate, calculated act of violation.
My God, and Tiernan, the deathless guy, does this finally break him?
That's the terrifying thing.
Yeah.
No, he endures it, doesn't make a sound. The source says he actually welcomes the discomfort.
Welcomes it?
Yeah, like it fuels him. He leaves that meeting already plotting revenge, planning to destroy something of Achilles so completely. It's chilling. Pain is just another tool for him.
So he walks away, physically altered, a literal blind spot now, mirroring his emotional one. Okay. That's the setup for Tiernan's state. Now, Lila. What happens to her that drags her into this mess?
Lila's own trauma hits soon after her brother Luca's wedding. It happens on Ferrante territory, a place called Crimson Key.
Which has a charming nickname, the Devil's Playground. Doesn't sound good.
No, she's attacked there, raped, and the details matter. The
Yep.
attacker uses a chemical-soaked rag, knocks her out cold. She wakes up later, pregnant.
The ultimate violation, after her family tried so hard to shield her.
The irony is brutal. Protected from arranged marriage, only to be victimized randomly, which then forces her into the worst possible arranged marriage.
And this is where her father, Velo, steps in. The dying Dawn.
Yes. Lila Ferrante is fading fast from some mysterious illness. There's a power vacuum looming. And he sees Lila's pregnancy not as a family tragedy, but purely as a political opportunity.
Pragmatic to the point of monstrous. So what's the play? Marry her off to Tiernan, the guy his son's just mutilated. Seems risky.
It's pure necessity from Vela's perspective. One, they desperately need an alliance with the Callahans to use Tiernan's ports crucial for their European shipments.
Okay, logistics. Makes sense in their world.
Two, Vela needs Callahan muscle to help deal with the growing threat from the Rasputins, the Russians.
Right, the Bratva problem.
And three, maybe the most cynical reason, Vela thinks marrying Tiernan off will somehow put that Pozzo, that crazy guy, on a leash, keep him under control.
A leash on Tiernan Callaghan seems unlikely.
Highly unlikely. But the immediate overriding concern is optics. Lila has to give birth as a married woman. No scandal allowed. The Ferrante name must be protected.
Okay, so Velo packages this whole disaster up and presents it to Tiernan. What's Tiernan's initial reaction? I can't imagine he's thrilled.
Thrilled, he's completely dismissive. His first response is literally, who the fuck is Lila? He has no clue who she is.
He doesn't care about the woman, the baby, any of it.
Not at all. Plus, as his twin sister Tierney points out, marrying a pregnant woman whose baby isn't his makes him look bad, maybe even like a predator in their circles. It's a risk to his reputation.
But Velo needs this, so it becomes a negotiation. What does Tiernan demand in exchange for taking on this situation?
His price reflects Velo's desperation. Tiernan demands the Ferrantes commit fully to helping him wipe out the Rasputins who are getting too bold eyeing New York.
So military support against the Russians. What about Lila and the baby?
His terms there are ice cold. He'll give the baby his name, claim the bastard, as he puts it, but that's it. No involvement with the child, no emotional connection to Lila. He'll only, quote, fuck her occasionally.
Just, wow. She's just collateral damage in his war plans.
Essentially, yes. Necessary baggage to get the strategic advantage he needs against the Bratva. It's purely transactional.
Okay, so the deal is struck. Let's move into Section 2, Wedding Night and the Unraveling Secret, because things get complicated fast.
They really do. The wedding happens just 2 weeks later, back on Crimson Key. It's rushed, meant to project Ferrante's strength and control.
But the ceremony itself, Tiernan uses it, doesn't he, to make a point?
Oh, absolutely. It's pure performance art, showcasing his dominance and her humiliation. During their first dance, he grabs her face, forces her to look into his remaining eye.
That's intense. What does he say?
He basically growls that she's his forbidden fruit, that he can't wait to devour her, to sully the pristine. It's all for the audience, establishing himself as her owner, her captor.
How do the Ferrantes react to this display?
It's incredibly tense. Luca Ferrante actually puts his hand on his gun, ready to start a war right there, but Velo stalks him. It shows how fragile this whole arrangement is.
But amidst all that public tension, there's a private moment that shifts things. Between Lila and her mother, Chiara.
Yes. Chiara's obviously devastated. As she's leaving, she manages to catch Lila's eye and makes a sign in ASL American Sign Language.
What does she sign?
Just one word. Fight. Like the only weapon she can give her daughter now. If isolation didn't work, maybe defiance will.
And Lila takes that message to heart instantly.
The second they're alone in the honeymoon suite, the door closes and the meek act drops. She doesn't weep. She doesn't plead. She smashes a vase.
To use a weapon.
Grabs a shard of glass. Tiernan, still high in his own performance, just mocks her, calls it a grown-up toy, offers her crayons. He completely underestimates her.
Big mistake. Because she escalates, right?
Massively. She gets a gun. A serious one. Aims right for his head. The source even notes she specifically aimed for his good eye, wishing his face good. She wants him dead.
Does she hit him?
The recoil's too much. She staggers, and the bullet only grazes his shoulder. But think about it, she just shot Tiernan Callaghan.
And his reaction. This work is weirdly interesting. He's not furious.
He's intrigued, almost impressed by her nerve. He compliments her aim in a twisted way.
Compliments her after she tried to kill him.
Yeah. And then He immediately pivots. Instead of punishing her, he starts teaching her.
Teaching her what? How to shoot better next time.
Close. He gives her a quick lesson in anatomy and stabbing people, points out the major arteries, radial, ulnar, jugular, where to cut for maximum effect.
Oh my God. Warped.
Totally warped. And then he makes her use that shard of glass she grabbed earlier to nick his own palm, forces her to draw his blood, stain the pristine white sheets.
Why? What's the point of that?
Two things, probably. One, it's a test. Can she follow complex instructions? Is she really intellectually impaired? And two, it's a way to discharge her anger, her feminine rage, by making her participate in the violence. A very twisted form of connection.
So that whole sequence, the defiance, the shooting attempt, the bizarre anatomy lesson that must be when Tiernan realizes the truth about her.
Absolutely. The speed, the focus, the competence. It clicks for him. He figures it out. She's not impaired. She has sensorineural hearing loss. She's deaf, and she uses sign language.
And Lila confirms it later, that the disability was a front.
Yes. She admits she hid her intelligence specifically to avoid being married off to some mafia monster. Ironically, the plan failed spectacularly. She ended up with arguably the most dangerous one of all.
But the shared secret language, ASL, that becomes a crucial link, doesn't it? Especially given Tiernan's own past.
This is vital to understanding him. Tiernan's connection to ASL goes way back to his absolutely horrific childhood.
Let's get into that. What happened to him?
He and his twin sister, Tierney, had a traumatic birth. Their mother was kidnapped by the Bratas, specifically Igor Rasputin, while pregnant. She was basically left to bleed out, and the twins were cut out of her body via C-section.
Just horrifying. And raised where?
In a former gulag camp in Siberia. It wasn't a home. It was a brutal training ground, a prison.
And the ASL connection comes from there.
Yes. The Russian supervisors only allowed them to speak aloud for 1 hour each day. The rest of the time, any communication had to be nonverbal. So ASL became their private, essential language. Russian was actually his first spoken language, English his second.
Survival depended on silence, on signs.
And on detachment. That environment forced it. Which also leads into the other defining trauma from that time. His sexual history.
Yeah, the source material is unflinching about this.
It's incredibly disturbing.
Yeah.
He lost his virginity at 12, forced at gunpoint to sodomize someone. The threat was that the last one to finish would have to drink. Well, the contents of everyone's condoms.
It's almost impossible to comprehend that level of degradation.
The experience taught him to completely disconnect his mind from his body during sex. It's why he says he only prefers anal sex, quote, "It's the only thing I know. It's about control, detachment, not pleasure." A mechanism learned in trauma.
So both Tiernan and Lila are marked by profound violation, him in the gulag, her through the rape. But his trauma, paradoxically, gives him the key, the ASL, to understanding her hidden self.
That shared silent language becomes the first unexpected bridge between them. Maybe the only space where honesty is possible for Tiernan.
Okay, let's move to section 3. They're married, the secret's out between them. How does their life together actually start? The search for the rapist and the political game.
Well, it's hardly domestic bliss. Tiernan moves Lila into an apartment above his pub, Firminas.
Named for his mother's county in Ireland, right? But the pub itself, it's in a rough area.
Very rough.
Oh.
Hunts Point in the Bronx. The source describes it like something from a horror movie, trash, graffiti everywhere. Even the pub, though it's in a former cathedral with stunning architecture, is in this bleak setting.
And the apartment reflects Tiernan's whole vibe, doesn't it?
Totally. Lila finds the thermostat locked at 42 degrees Fahrenheit, freezing.
42 degrees, why?
Because Tiernan thrives on discomfort. He eats cold, utilitarian food. Lives like a monk, almost. It's part of his control, avoiding any softness or weakness. A stark contrast to Lila's privileged Ferrante upbringing.
And he immediately starts testing her, right, pushing her boundaries.
Well, yeah. There's this really calculated, cruel incident. He brings another woman home, Becky, a former dancer from one of his clubs.
Okay, standard awful husband behavior in this world, maybe.
But he escalates it. He deliberately dresses Becky in Lila's clothes.
Oh, that's nasty. Symbolic violation.
Exactly. And then he has sex with Becky on the kitchen island. Specifically, the spot where Lila eats her avocado toast every morning. He's practically begging for a reaction, trying to provoke that forbidden fruit quality he mentioned.
He wants her to be jealous, angry, something. But Lila, she plays it differently.
Masterfully. She needs him to keep underestimating her, to protect her secrets. So what does? She calmly gets a glass of milk, warms it up.
Well, they're right there.
Right there. Then she turns, gives Tiernan this little airy smile, and raises her glass slightly, like a salute. Complete, calculated indifference.
That must have driven Tiernan crazy, not the reaction he wanted at all.
He's deeply disappointed. He wanted fire, rage. He got ice. It forces him to realize she genuinely doesn't care about his cheating, or at least she won't show it. That's when he starts seeing her less as a burden and more as, well, a player, a dangerous one.
Okay, so the mind games are happening, but the practical problem remains. Who raped Lila? Tiernan needs to find him before the truth about the baby's paternity gets out.
Right. This is a serious political liability, so he brings in outside help, a specialist.
Who does he hire?
Sam Brennan, a legendary fixer, ex-Boston Irish mob. The guy who can supposedly find a grain of salt in a pile of shit. Brennan's job is to analyze the CCTV footage from the wedding night, narrow down the time frame, find the attacker.
Does Tiernan have any initial suspects in mind?
He definitely has a bias. He wants it to be Tate Blackthorne.
A rival. Someone he already hates.
Exactly. There's bad blood there. Tiernan kidnapped Tate's wife the year before. Tiernan's already imagining gruesome revenge scenarios involving meat hooks. Lila, having sketched Tate's picture, probably fuels this a bit too.
Okay, so Tate's suspect number 1 in Tiernan's mind. Anyone else?
Suspect number 2 is Angelo Bandini. He's Lila Ferrante's brother-in-law from the Chicago outfit. Tiernan pegs him as a spoiled Mafia prince, the type who'd feel entitled to take whatever he wanted. A high-risk target, politically.
So they start investigating Tate. How does that go?
They actually bring Tate in and hook him up to a polygraph. A lie detector test.
Yeah.
Which is, incredibly risky in their world.
And the result?
No lies detected. Sam Brennan says Tate was cool as a cucumber. Plus, Tate has a solid alibi for the crucial time window of the assault.
What was he doing?
He was at a 24-hour pharmacy buying ginger candy and Sprite Zero for his wife, Gia, who was apparently feeling sick. They have the receipt, timestamped 10:45 p.m., right in the middle of the likely assault time.
So Tate's cleared. The focus shifts to Angelo.
Pretty much. Angelo becomes the prime suspect. But while this investigation is unfolding, something else interesting is happening. Tiernan starts, empowering Lila.
Empowering her. How? He just brought another woman home to mess with her head.
I know, it's contradictory, but it's happening. He sees her intelligence now, her potential. So he starts giving her tools to connect with the world, breaking down the isolation the Ferrantes imposed.
Like what?
He gets her a smartphone, top of the line. Something her mother explicitly forbade because she feared the elusive internet. He sets her up with transcription apps, vibrating alarms, things that acknowledge her hearing loss, but give her agency.
He's equipping her.
Exactly. He even takes her to an OBGYN, framing the pregnancy appointment as dealing with our tragedy. It's a subtle shift in language, acknowledging shared stakes.
And he addresses the deafness directly, too.
Yes. He arranges for her to see an audiologist. The doctor confirms she's a perfect candidate for a cochlear implant. Tiernan is actively helping her overcome the very disability that was supposed to define her.
Why? Is he being nice? Seems unlikely for Tiernan.
He tells her he sees her as one of his many lethal weapons. He needs her functional, capable. Especially with the Bratva war heating up, he knows she could be a target.
So it's still strategic, but personal, too.
It feels like it. And crucially, he starts giving her shooting lessons himself.
The anatomy teacher strikes again.
But seriously this time, making sure she graduates from stationary targets to moving targets. He's preparing her for combat because he needs her to survive. It feels like possessiveness, protection, not just politics anymore.
Okay, things are shifting. Let's move to Section 4. Betrayal, danger, and commitment. The external threats ramp up significantly now.
They do. The rapist makes his move. Lila receives a letter, then a text message.
A text, that implies some technical skill, right? And access.
Definitely. The message demands $150,000 cash, and the threat is explicit. If Lila doesn't meet the sender alone, he'll expose the truth about the baby's paternity to Tiernan.
That confirms the attacker is an insider, someone who knows the secrets, who can bypass Callaghan's security.
Precisely. It narrows the field considerably, makes the situation even more dangerous, and then Tiernan has to leave town.
Bad timing. Where does he go?
He flies to Vegas with Enzo and Achilles Ferrante. Their mission, to ambush Alex Rasputin, Igor's son, the new head of the Bratva.
So Tiernan's dealing with the Russians, and Lila's back in New York with this blackmail threat hanging over her.
And that's when disaster strikes.
Yeah.
Tierney, Tiernan's twin, is driving Lila somewhere in the city. A big GMC truck comes out of nowhere and T-bones their car. A serious crash.
Oh, no. Are they... Okay. The baby?
Tierney's injured, But the immediate fear is for Lila and the baby. The baby is in critical danger. Tiernan gets the call in Vegas and drops everything.
This must be the breaking point for him. The man who embraces discomfort, who disconnects, facing the potential loss of Lila.
It shatters his defenses. The source says his focus instantly shifts away from territory and prestige. All that matters is getting back to her. He takes an emergency flight.
And when he gets to the hospital,
He completely unravels all that controlled violence, the detachment gone. He confesses everything to Lila in her hospital room. Tells her she's the spectacular thing worth living with my past and nightmares.
wow. From who the fuck is Lila to that.
It's a seismic shift.
Yeah.
He tells her, I love you with a force that could destroy planets and universes, Lila. It's desperate, raw, absolute.
What about the baby, the bastard he wasn't going to be involved with?
He embraces the child completely, calls the baby our baby over and over, vows to love him as his own, declaring that anything born of you is bound to be perfection. The transaction is dead. This is devotion.
He's all in.
So much so that he reveals he already turned down a huge prize from the Ferrante's control of Harlem turf, offered after the successful Rasputin operation in Vegas. He didn't want it. His territory, his focus is now entirely Lila.
That's a huge statement in their world. But just as he commits fully, there's betrayal closer to home, within his own family.
Yeah, the Callaghan curse, maybe. Tiernan finds a piece of paper named Tom Rothwell, a federal agent. He confronts Tierney.
His twin sister, the one he shared everything with in the gulag. What's she doing talking to the feds?
Revenge. Tierney was also part of Lila Ferrante's machinations. She was married off to Achilles, an alliance she hates, and one Tiernan never helped her escape. She admits she's been feeding info to Rothwell, trying to ruin this bastard Achilles.
How does Tiernan react? This is his twin, his other half from that traumatic past.
Lila comes first now. Absolutely first. He sees Tierney's actions purely as a threat to Lila and the baby. He tells her flat out that if anything she does puts Lila at risk, he will kill her. His own Quinn.
The line is drawn. Protect Lila at all costs, even from family.
The bad bishop has found his queen, and nothing else matters.
Which brings us to the climax, Section 5, the final showdown in paternity. Tiernan knows the attacker is coming for the blackmail money. He plans a trap.
Right. Tiernan intercepts the communication, directs the meeting to Fort Marketport, planning an ambush. But Lila, she's not waiting to be rescued.
She decides to go herself, after everything Tiernan taught her.
Exactly. She's determined to confront her attacker. She needs to shake off the security detail Tiernan assigned, her 4 armed Callaghan soldiers.
How does she manage that? 4 armed guys.
It's brilliant, actually. Pure manipulation. Around 10:30 at night, she suddenly pretends to have an overwhelming, desperate craving for chocolate.
The pregnant lady card.
Totally. When the guards hesitate, she plays the victim, complaining she feels uncomfortable being cooped up with a bunch of big guys, making them feel awkward and protective. They fall for it, let her go get chocolate. She grabs her gun and heads straight for the port.
Smart. And she arrives just in time, doesn't she?
Critically. Just as Tiernan is approaching the meeting spot, Lila sees a figure on a nearby roof, sniper position. Dressed in black, balaclava, aiming right at Tiernan.
And Lila.
She doesn't hesitate. Uses the skills Tiernan hammered into her, raises her pistol, fires a clean headshot. The sniper tumbles off the roof. She just saved Tiernan's life.
She took action, became the weapon Tiernan saw in her. So who was the sniper? Was it Angelo or the real attacker?
Tiernan rushes over, rips off the balaclava, expecting to finally see the face of the man who violated Lila.
Right.
But it's no one they recognize.
Not Angelo. Not Tate.
No. It's a guy named Roger Carsoto, a waiter from Luca's wedding. Tiernan immediately dismisses him, a fucking nobody. Frail guy, older, devout Catholic apparently, doesn't fit the profile at all. Clearly a decoy or someone forced into it.
So the real attacker's still out there. The investigation isn't over.
Not by a long shot. And Tiernan has to reevaluate everything. He circles back to Angelo Bandini.
Does he finally confirm Angelo's involvement?
No, quite the opposite.
Right.
He presses Tierney for details about Angelo, and she confirms Angelo's alibi for the wedding night was solid because, well, he was sleeping with Tierney.
Wow. Okay, so Angelo's out. Tate's out. The decoy sniper is dead.
Yeah.
Where does that leave Tiernan?
With a horrible realization. If it wasn't an outsider, if it wasn't Ferrante adjacent, the attacker had to be a Callaghan. Someone from inside his own family. Someone with access, knowledge, motive.
Oh, God. Who?
This leads him to confront his older brother, Fintan.
Tiernan Callaghan. His own brother.
Tiernan finds Fintan drunk, paranoid. And Fintan confesses he raped Lila.
Why? What is his twisted reason?
He claims it was loyalty to Tiernan. A fuck you to them, meaning the Ferrantes, for what they did to Tiernan's eye. He saw raping Lila, contaminating their bloodline, as some kind of warped revenge on Tiernan's behalf. Utterly sickening logic.
And Fintan confirms he was behind the other attacks too, the car crash attempt.
Yes. He admits he tried to get to Lila in the hospital after the crash to finish the job, but Enzo Ferrante was always hanging around her room, inadvertently protecting her.
So Fintan was the threat all along. How does Tiernan handle this, killing his own brother?
It's not just a killing, it's retribution. Primal. He brings all the brutality of the gulag to bear. He doesn't give Fintan a quick death.
What does he do?
He castrates him first, slashes off his testicles, a deliberate, symbolic act of punishment for the violation Fintan committed. Then he kills him.
Unbelievably brutal. What happens to the body?
Fintan's body turns up months later in Lake Mead. And this is where the politics get tangled again.
How so?
The Bratva, the Russians, publicly claim responsibility for Fintan's death. They frame it as payback for Igor Rasputin. It's political cover, a final favor from Alex Rasputin to Tiernan, allowing him to avoid an internal war over executing his own brother.
Everything is connected. The violence, the politics, the family ties. Which brings us to the birth itself.
Yes. Lila gives birth at home, a baby boy. She names him Gennaro, but calls him Nero or Eni privately.
And Tiernan is there. He's committed now. But there's one last realization for him, isn't there, when he sees the baby?
He holds the baby, looks closely, and he sees it. The hair, red, thick hair, the pale eyes, the cleft chin, distinctive Callaghan features.
Fintan's features.
Unmistakably. Tiernan knows in that moment with absolute certainty the baby is biologically Fintan's, his rapist brother's son, which also means the baby is Tiernan's nephew, still his blood.
How does he react? After vowing to love the baby unconditionally, does this break him, knowing the biological father?
It strengthens his resolve. His love for Lila has completely overridden everything else. The biology doesn't matter. He looks at Lila holding their son and tells her, "Our baby." He reaffirms his love, says he loves the baby more than anything because he's part of her.
So the bad bishop finds his redemption not by rejecting the darkness, but by embracing this incredibly complicated, trauma-born family.
He finds his anchor. His purpose is protecting Lila and this child, regardless of the horrific circumstances of his conception.
But the story doesn't quite end there. There's one final twist, revealed in Lila's internal thoughts. It reframes everything she did.
Right. Before the absolute final reveal, there's a moment of understanding between Lila and her mother, Chiara. Chiara explains her own trauma. Her own mother committed suicide because of an abusive Mafia marriage. That's why Chiara was so desperate to shield Lila, even through the damaging isolation. Lila forgives her.
So some measure of healing there. But then Lila's final secret.
It's huge. Lila admits only to herself and the reader that her memory of the rape didn't just vanish. It came back fully around the 32nd week of her pregnancy.
She knew, before the final confrontation.
She knew. She knew Gennaro was Fintan's son. She knew who her attacker was. And she deliberately let Tiernan's investigation play out, trusting his possessive love for her would lead him to identify and eliminate Fintan.
She trusted Tiernan would kill his own brother for her.
Yes. And she had a backup plan. In her final thoughts, she states that if Tiernan had somehow failed, if he hadn't killed Fintan, I would have done it myself.
Wow. So Lila wasn't just a survivor. She became a strategist, a killer in her own right, using Tiernan's methods, wielding her secrets.
Exactly. The pretty little burden mastered the game. Her deafness, meant to isolate her, became a shield and a secret language connecting her to Tiernan. Tiernan, the bad bishop trapped by his past, found his purpose, his redemption such as it is, in protecting the woman he was supposed to discard.
Their connection isn't about healing in a traditional sense. It's built on shared trauma, the gulag, the rape on violence, on ASL, the secret intimacy, and ultimately on a mutual willingness to kill for each other.
Lila ends the story not broken, but empowered in this specific dark context. She's a wife, a mother, she has her cochlear implant, she's even going to college. She found her agency not by escaping the violence, but by mastering it.
It really makes you question what love and connection even mean in a world built on such brutality.
It absolutely does.
Which leaves us with our final thought for you, the listener. In a world as fundamentally dark as the one depicted here, where survival often means violence, could true love simply be the fierce alignment of two people willing to protect each other's peace, even if it means killing? Willing to hold the darkest secrets safe? Something to think about.